to Let's Talk to Animals. My name is Shannon Cutts. I'm an animal intuitive and sensitive with animal love languages. Here on my shoulder to my left and your right is Pearl Cutts. He is my 22-year-old soul bird and avian sidekick, and he never misses up an episode. Would you like to say hello to everyone who is watching? You're seeing a very cute gray and white feathered being. He just lost his balance. And for those of you who are listening, all you heard is the sound of wings and an angry squawk. So how's that to start this episode of Let's Talk to Animals, where we're chatting about everything animal communication. What is it like? How do you know you're doing it? Is it something that everyone can do? How do you get started? In what ways can communicating with other species change your life? I'm so delighted to have such an incredible lineup of guests. And today we are talking with one of my mentors and one of my personal favorite communicators, Karen Dendy Smith. She has watched me grow and hopefully transform as an animal communicator. Along the path, there are many new aha moments and learnings. It's always nice to have a cheerleader who is there for you and always willing to help you and encourage you. And Karen is that for me. You can find, before I forget, I'm going to welcome Karen, but you can find Karen at karendendysmith.com, and that's Karen, and then Dendy is Dendy Smith.com, and I'm going to put that in the show notes. But just to make sure I don't forget to say that, welcome, Karen. I'm so delighted that you're with us today.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so good to see your face.
It's good to see you too.
Yeah. It's beautiful to have you on the show today. Of course, you're definitely further along the path than I am, and you've got a lot going on in your animal communication life, and we're definitely going to get into that. But I always like to just start us out at the beginning, you know? For most of us, waking up to how our animals are trying to communicate with us is a gradual process. For some of us, it comes as an instant aha. For others, it takes a lot of time. So what was that like for you? When did you know that talking to animals was even possible?
Well, I would have to say...
you know it's going to be good when you starts like that.
I have to say that when I was a real little kid and I saw those old movies with Dr. Dolittle, I believed them. Did I think that I was going to be a doctor that fixed animals that were sick? No. But did I believe that animals could give us messages and send us their feelings? Yes. And when I was little, that's what I really wanted to do. And for a while I tried, but it didn't necessarily work out, although I was very intuitive and psychic when I was a kid. And I remember going to a zoo when I was about 4.5 or 5 years old. And I walked into the zoo and immediately felt like a wave of sadness come at me. And at that point, we walked up to, I guess they were the gorilla cages, or the gorilla cage at this zoo. And this gorilla was very, very sad. And he was telling me that he felt crazy. Of course, at that age, I wasn't sure what I was feeling, but I was feeling what he was feeling. And I could hear him just saying, "Get me out of here."
Oh, wow.
And so after that, I just hid in the bush maze for the rest of the zoo time that we were there. And I thought, oh my God, and that scared me, and it made me so upset that I kind of shut it down after that. Although I still tried to always talk to my dog, Andy. And we didn't get to have the two-way conversation at that point. I think I was so freaked out that it kind of shut it down. But then when I got older and I reconnected with animals again and ended up taking in some cats, and that's when, in college, when I started noticing that I could feel what they were feeling. But it took a long time for me to get to the point where I said, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to go to school for this. There is school for this. I didn't realize there was school for this, and that And so before then, I really went down a path of studying Chinese medicine and energy work and things like that first. And in doing so, opened up my medium channel, and I started hearing people who had passed. And that's when I realized, oh, I guess I could do this with animals as well. And when my soul baby hockey puck passed away, when I was, it has to be about 4 years ago now, it just broke my heart. And that's when I said, I need to do this. I really need to go back to school, and I need to really add this into my toolkit. And it was really because of him. He led me. He led me to it, my sweet hockey puck. And then everything opened up. And since then, I have to say, the gorilla
Mm-hmm.
came back to talk to me. That first gorilla,
Wow. Yes.
I had
Tell
completely
us.
forgotten about him. And about a year ago, he woke me up. I was waking up one morning and he showed up and jolted me out of a dreamy sleep and said, "It's me. I've been waiting to talk to you all these years." Isn't that amazing?
Incredible.
And he explained to me what he's doing with me now. So it was really cool. And he told me I should call him Michael. Of all names, like,
Well,
okay, we're calling you
I love
Michael.
it. I love it. Archangel
Yeah.
Michael, the protector and the
Yeah.
instigator of new creative ideas, of which
Yeah.
you are already a fountain. So I have no doubt that he's just going to enhance that. That's absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. So,
Mm-hmm.
here is an example for those of you who are watching or listening of someone who, you know, Karen has shared she has had these little moments along the way. I mean, for me, I just listening to your story right now, Karen, I'm thinking, oh, when was that first moment for me? And it was when I I released my mother and brother, and I would rescue little baby red-eared slider turtles because we had a bayou behind our house, and they would somehow manage to hatch out and walk onto the concrete. We'd find them, and so we would just kind of keep them until they were a little bigger, a little stronger, and then we'd release them. We went to go release this one red-eared slider named Red that I had really bonded with, but I was really too young to understand how close our bond was. And I remember we had 5 of them at the time when we released them into the bayou area. And when we turned around to leave, Red, actually, he was the biggest and the oldest of them. He turned around and tried to follow us back to the car.
Oh.
It's taken me years to even be able to share that story because it broke I wanted, and my mom was like, no, it's better for him. It's better for him. Let him go have a wild life. And so I think that was because he was communicating with me. He was letting me know what he wanted. And I just, I was a little kid. I just wanted what was best for him. And yet it broke my heart
Right.
and definitely shut me down because it was very painful. And so those of you who are watching or listening, you start thinking about it. Okay, there's a reason why you're listening to a podcast on animal communication rather than, I don't know, don't quit your day job or, how to make delicious recipes or get fit in 5 minutes a day or whatever it is that's out there. There's millions of them, right? But you're listening to this one. So start thinking about when you had those little moments, those little breadcrumbs, those little drops in the bucket experiences, and let them come back to you and consider how did you get from there to here and where might you be headed. See, that's the very exciting part. So, and that's kind of where, speaking of which, that's kind of where we're headed, is let's talk about the journey. How do you, because there's one thing to kind of be aware of a gift. Like I was born into a musical family. I have good pitch. I have, a natural love for music. I still had to practice for years, and that wasn't particularly fun. I have to say, practicing animal communication was a lot more fun than practicing scales on the
Yeah.
piano. Thank goodness. But so let's talk about putting a little structure, a little discipline, a little
Right.
practice behind our love of animals and this birthright gift that we have to have these interspecies conversations. So could you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Sure. And I would like to say, like what you said, Shannon, about doing the work, and the way that I explain it to people, because they'll say to me, how can you do that?
Yeah.
And I say, we all can do it. It's whether we choose to do it. And it's no different than saying, I want to be able to do 100 sit ups. Every human being has the muscle structure to do a sit up. But how many you can do depends on how much passion and effort you put behind wanting to do what you do. And for some of us, and if you're listening today, you probably have been led here on some level to at least listen to this for some reason. So to be open to that, one. But two, how many sit-ups do you want to be able to do? It's a good question. And do you want to connect with your animals so that you can feel closer to them? Do you want to be able to hear a two-way conversation? Do you want to be able to relay messages to another person? It really depends on your interest level. That's where people's talents come from, is their passion and interest level. So for me, so you're asking me about my journey into this, which I started to talk about earlier. My journey really started wanting to become an animal communicator when I had my cat Dusty in college. And she showed up when I was a senior in college under a car. And
Wow.
and we took her in, where there were a bunch of us living in an apartment together, and we took her in, and we were all dispersing for the end of senior year. I knew I could not let her go. I basically not fought, but really debated with the person who found her under the car, that was my roommate, to prove that I was her real mom, not that person. And so I did get to keep Dusty. And but Dusty was very patient with me along the way, because it was a long road to me really understanding what I had gotten myself into. And she ended up, went in her older age, getting spleen cancer. And I thought, I need to amp it up. And that was the first time I used an animal communicator. And he talked to me about Dusty's nutrition and what she was looking for in life. And I thought, oh my God, we can communicate with them like for real. And I did the homework, and I started looking into homeopathic remedies and changing her diet and trying to save her life. But what I didn't realize was she was helping save mine. And she shifted my viewpoint on the depth of a relationship we can have with an animal. And she should have died within 6 months of her spleen cancer, and she lived for 3 years. And when she passed when she realized that, as I was transitioning to a new part of my life, that when I realized I was going to be okay, she finally left. And the interesting thing about that was, I realized then how much I'd missed in the opportunities with her, and so I begged her to come back. And I know some people believe in animal reincarnation, some people don't, but I can tell you in this case, she did return. And I begged for 3 years for a do-over with her in this life. I know she'd been with me in other lives. And she basically came back. I had dreams that she was coming back for 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, my brother found a 3-week-old cat in the middle of a divided highway in the middle of the night, and it was Hockey Puck. And when we flew him up from Florida, which is where he was found, he attached himself to my chest and he never left. Yeah. And so I had 15 wonderful years to work out stuff with Hockey Puck and learn to communicate and feel his energy. And he's the one who led me into animal communication.
Incredible. I mean, so I feel like I'm saying that a lot on this podcast. Wow and incredible. But I mean, what else can you say? It is wow and incredible. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And that's the coolest part about animal communication, is that it's one of those things where it's easy to get lost in your mind and, debate and theorize with yourself or with others who've never experienced it. And it's another thing entirely when you actually connect with your animal and you see positive change coming from it. And then there's that evidence base that we're all craving, especially in this westernized kind of science-backed, empirically based, arena that we live in today. It's like, oh, really? The proof is, does it work? Is it helping? Do you see positive change? Are you learning? Are you growing and evolving? Do you
Right.
have a better connection with somebody you love, regardless of species? If that's the case, then there's value to be accessed and experienced. And it's much better to try something out and see for yourself. And, it's interesting because so many of the students I've met along the way have come to this work because they have lost an animal love and they are just grieving and hurting and feeling, wanting, looking, seeing, is it possible to reestablish that connection from across the veil? Is that something that can be done? And I've come to believe that that's because there's something inside of us that knows that it's possible. Otherwise, that question would never even enter our awareness.
That's right.
It's possible, you know?
Our higher selves knows this information. Our souls know this information. I believe we've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives, and that information is in there. It's just not readily available. But there is a whisper in us that knows. And so when an animal touches our soul, and that's why so many people say when they come to animal communication, it's because they lost their soul baby. Not just an animal, but an animal that touched their soul. And so when they lose a partner in their life like that, someone who's been giving them so much unconditional love, there's this desire to make sure they're not crazy when they start to have experiences, whether they're hearing something or feeling something on their body or finding something on the floor that wasn't there yesterday or things like that. They want to confirm what their soul already knows, which is, I'm not crazy. There is something more than meets the eye. There is something more to us than the 3D. And I think that when you open your heart at that level, that's when you start to really realize that you can communicate with all species, animals, humans, plants, the planet. It's pretty amazing.
And it feels really good because so many people, at least in my circles and in your circles, we deeply care about this planet. I mean, Mars is probably fantastic. I say this a lot in the podcast. I'm sure it's a great place to live, but I like it here,
Right.
I want to stay here. I want to keep it. I think we can do a lot. But it's easy to start feeling really powerless, especially, hearing the news and reading the reports, and it's
Right.
this big old planet and we're just one person. It's like, well, wait a minute, we can start right where we are as we are by shifting our awareness of how connected we really are. And when an animal passes, it's not easy for them to leave their person. A soul animal understands that human is going to grieve, that human is going to suffer. It's a difficult decision to make, but in service of waking us up, of evolving our consciousness, of pushing us towards a new experience that we might not otherwise have ever sought out. And then we become ambassadors for interspecies communication, because then we can't stop telling people because it is such a magical experience. And so then, I mean, we're in a referral business, right? One person has a communication session, it's awesome. Right. They tell their friends, and before you know it, we have people communicating across interspecies, barriers, so-called barriers or boundaries. And what we can communicate with, we care about more.
That's right.
And as we care more, we do more, and we find little ways that we can make a difference right here, right now. And those little ways that we're changing our behaviors, our habits, our purchasing choices right here, right now, that's like each one of us is putting a grain of sand, and before long we have a whole beautiful beach and it's pristine. So don't discount the impact of it. And this is I'm so proud of myself for these segues today. So always a nervous podcast host, no matter how many years I've been doing it. You never know what it's going to lead to. And in your case, Karen, you have a beautiful outreach charity and nonprofit that you founded that is doing immensely valuable work with organizations that are actively, boots on the ground, grassroots helping animals, called the Animal Communication Collective. And I would love for you to share some more information about that. And those of you who are listening or watching, even consider, everyone comes into the experience of interspecies communication with our, you have your own passion. I have my own passion. Karen has hers. You don't have to hang out a shingle, as I often say, and, go into business to learn animal communication. If you are passionate about a local charity or a shelter, that's an incredible gift to be able to offer. And so just want to plant that little seed right there and take it away, Karen. Just think about it.
Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
So that is so true, because we are guided, I believe, to help in many ways. I never thought this is what would happen. So, learning to talk to animals really came out of a desire to connect with my sweet hockey puck who passed. Then it grew into, oh my God, I can help others. And then it grew into, wait, all these animals are here to help us. How can we help them? And that's when the idea hit me. And I know it was given to me by the animals. I know it was. It was given to me by that layer, let's call it that layer of the universal construct. There is an energetic layer, an animal layer, that if we believe on any level that there is a higher intelligence that creates all of this, that has built these layers for us to learn from, all of us to learn from. So when I opened up my heart and said, wait, there's more to this, there's more that can be done, but what is it? It's like it funneled in, like, oh, you can help more by bringing together your peers and colleagues to work together as a collective and communicate with more animals in front of more people so they actually understand and can care for the animals better, and help these rescue organizations and shelters and sanctuaries raise not only funds, but awareness for the animals that they are saving. So for me, it was a twofold thing. It was not only do they need funds to do their work, but they need people to be aware of why they do that work on another level, that these animals have a consciousness, they have souls, they have feelings, they have emotions, and their unconditional love and alignment with the planet is something they're trying to teach us. So that's where that idea was born out of. And when I brought that to more of my colleagues, they all said, we want to do it too.
Yeah.
And that's really how it was born. And we kind of winged it at first.
We love winging it around here.
We do.
That's a wonderful way to do it. Yeah.
That's right. We wing it. And yeah, together we just started reaching out to rescues and shelters and saying, hey, what if we run events for you? We'll do it all for free. You bring in the tickets and the proceeds, you keep 100% of it, and we get to teach people about animal communication and maybe heal some hearts along the way, some broken hearts, which is exactly what happens. And so that's how the Animal Communication Collective was actually born. And now it's an organization with 20 some odd animal communicator members who all come together to work together, not compete, but work together to help these rescue organizations and shelters raise funds and awareness. And we're working with them all over the country. It's pretty amazing. So you can go to our website and see some of the new events coming up, or our Instagram, Animal Communication Collective Instagram or Facebook, and see what we're doing and see the events that we're involved in and who we're helping, so that you can get involved and come for the entertainment of it, but also hopefully get a reading from us during the event, and also support a great shelter or rescue.
Yeah, I've attended, and it's an amazing evening. It's, first of all, it's awesome to be able to make a donation and know that 100% of the ticket price is going to support the animal charity that you're purchasing the ticket from. And it's super cool to hear the different ways in which each communicator establishes that conversation with a single animal. It's amazing to see the animal's person respond to what the animal has to say, and it feels good. You're in a community of people who are 100% about helping animals, and that collective updraft of good vibes, if you will, and positive
Yeah,
energy.
that's
It
a
just
great.
feels, it's like, when do you walk into a room or a virtual room full of people, and they're your people? They're the people
Right.
that love animals and just they want to share, they want to spend their evening helping,
Mhm.
and there's
And
so
they
many
want
ways to help, you know?
like that magic of like when you were a kid and said, I believe I can talk to them. They want that to like come to light and see it happen in it. And it is magic.
Mhm.
It's trust, it's magic, it's intuition, it's that extra layer that we forget about in our 3D world. And it's beautiful when you get to see someone's face shift from, the sadness that they're going through or the frustration that they have with an animal. When you see their face just change because you've delivered information that half the time we have absolutely no idea what we're saying because
Right.
we're just saying what the animal wants us to say, which sometimes we're like, I don't even know why I'm saying this. And it changes something for the person on the other end. And that's powerful. That's why we do it.
You're changing two lives just in an
Yeah.
instant, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's live, it's on the spot. uh,
Yep.
it's the for those minds that want to prove everything, it's the closest you can get, is there's a real-time conversation with a measurable shift in consciousness and behavior on the part of that animal's human and those
Mm-hmm.
watching, and the enthusiasm and the desire to, I often share that when I first communicated with an animal, an iguana, and I will never forget this. And of course, my very first experience was I hired an animal communicator to help me with my sometimes complicated interspecies family and the family dynamics, right? It doesn't matter what species we are, family dynamics are a thing. And so that's a great way to experience it, firsthand. But, then when I had my first direct experience of actually being the one communicating, my very first thought was, everybody could do this. I just
Yes.
intuitively knew it. And then my second thought was, man, I feel so alive. Like, there were parts of myself just like bleeping on that I was just like, I often liken it to a little known um, program that's in your operating system, in your applications. You just don't know it's there. And
Right.
somehow something had led me to that program. I'd unzipped the file, downloaded it, and boom, like, I felt awake and aware and alive. I was using senses that I had just been it was like turning on a light in a room, being like, wow, this is a pretty groovy room. Like, this is cool.
Right.
I didn't know
That's
all
right.
this stuff was here. So,
Mm-hmm.
just as a pure bucket list experience to have, you just add it to, I mean, I'm going to be adding, do more than one sit up to my bucket list because apparently I haven't been that devoted to that one. How many sit ups do you want to do? Well, I've never really thought about it. Maybe I think I could do one if you gave me a lot of time and space and a lot
Right.
of water. But so, it's a cool bucket list experience to have, for no
Right.
other reason. And it just might change your life and your animal's life. And you never know where it's going to lead.
That's right.
And for anyone who's listening and who's like, I just don't feel like I've found my thing yet, but I love animals. Why not
Yeah.
gift yourself with an experience? Just have an
That's right.
experience. And it doesn't have to be an animal who's with you right now.
No.
It happens every day. We communicate with animals that have crossed, and, it's just, the body might be missing, but the spirit is so
That's right.
alive. And just offer yourself that opportunity. Have the
That's right.
experience and see what lands.
Yeah.
And if you want to take it further, just don't put pressure on yourself. Just think about, you know, what could life be like the next time you go on a walk in a forest and you
That's
realize
right.
that there's all kinds of communications going on all the time. And maybe you can start to pick up, just think of it, just
Right.
planting a seed and seeing what sprouts up, right?
That's right. Just breathe and
So,
allow yourself to feel
mhm,
instead of
mhm,
think.
mhm. So that's
That's
my
part of it.
2 cents for, how to get started. I mean, I share that. I'm very open. I'm like, my first
Mhm.
experience was talking. I hired an animal communicator several times, as a matter
Yep.
of fact. In fact, I was one of those people that looked at people that talk to animals and was like, oh, why do they get to be so lucky? You know?
Yep.
Um,
Yep. How did
and
that
it's,
happen for them?
yeah, and not for me. And it's like, I realized I always wanted to do it. I just thought that those people were special. I mean, how many of us are kind of have the similar misconception, like those people that are doing their thing are special, because we don't see that, there may be a universal program installed in your operating system, but unpacking it, installing it, learning how to use it, putting it into
Right.
practice, and so you can kind of do it on demand when somebody needs you to serve them and their animal. That takes some work,
Mhm.
just like doing
Right.
sit-ups. So,
That's right.
just understanding that you too can do this. It's just a matter kind of, how much space and time do you have in your life to do it, and it doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's a real key. I would love for you to share, Karen. You took a track that's taken you into a professional setting, but for somebody that's
Mhm.
listening today who is just, dude, I would love to do this, but did I just say dude? That's awesome. Okay, awesome. Okay, great, fantastic,
Peace.
wonderful. Right, groovy. Okay, so I don't even have to tell people I'm 50; they already know.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you have to somebody who is just newbie, and just wants to just do something? Where do you start? Where do you go? What do you do?
So
What first?
I okay, first step, take a breath.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
First
How did
step,
I know
take
you
a
were going
breath.
to say that? Yeah.
Yeah. Take a few breaths and recognize that you're already tapped in ways that you're not paying attention to. And so the way that I first started was I just sat there with when I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I read a couple of books. I read, kind of the greats, Penelope Smith, I read a few things like that. And they actually bring you through, you can get a book like that and it talks you through how to take a breath and just be present and open yourself up to see what happens with your animal and how they change their behavior in front of you when they go, what just, they get really surprised when you become very quiet and present. That's kind of a first step to see that you're being more calm and present changes their behavior in front of you. So it's like a first step connection. And in doing so, the other thing is to test sending them love. Like to send love to them and watch their face kind of look at you like, wait, you intended to send me that? Or to send them joy, just a picture of joy or a picture of happiness, and watch them react. That will show you that you're communicating. That will show you that they feel what you feel. And when you sit and wait for what they might send back and say, okay, now your turn, you literally will feel an emotion come back to you. So just sending emotions to each other is a really great way to just play and see what happens. That's a
Love
first
that.
step. Yeah.
That's the first step. I will add to that I have just launched a free 5-day, I'm calling it animal communication camp. It's really, to just kind of boost your intuitive
Mm-hmm.
vibes, so to speak. It just takes you, it's a little 5 minutes a day, 5 days, teaches you. Did I just do 4 for those of you who are watching? I just said 5 days with my thumb folded down. So let's just do that again. 5 days, 5 fingers, right? Math is never my
Yes.
strong suit. 5 minutes a day, and you can just learn the
Mm-hmm.
5 of the main ways that animals try to send messages to their
That's right.
people, and it just gives you a little tiny taste super easy, super free, as if that's like free. If it isn't already free enough, it's super free. All you have to do is go to animallovelanguages.com/camp. And you can download, you can sign up for the 5-day series, and it'll just give you a little bit to practice, building on what Karen just said, just give you a little bit different ways to practice sending. And I love the idea of receiving back messages from your animal. And just, I love it when, I'm trying to communicate, of course, with one of mine, and they'll just give me, I love how you said that look. They give you that look.
Kind of like, what?
Yeah. It's getting
And
deep
it's
around
funny.
here.
That's right. And there are some animals, when I do connect with them now professionally and I say hi to them, they really go, wait, what? You're talking to me? So they're excited and surprised when they find someone who understands how to lighten themselves up and become quiet and present, because part of it is being lighter and more open for you to be able to get to their frequency, which is already lighter and more open than ours. So we have to be able to open ourselves up and become lighter and present to be able to connect with them.
And one of the biggest, hugest benefits is in the process, we also just get to experience feeling lighter. We have a reason now, a motivation to quiet our mind. It's not just, another exercise to do to better ourselves. It's like you quiet your mind, you can hear your beloved. You can hear your dog, your cat, your donkey, your horse, your cockatiel. I mean, he's pretty loud already, but I'm listening for the inner messages that I'll miss if my mind is too busy generating its own noise.
That's right.
And so that's why I love that your practice and your suite of services includes energy work, and it includes, brings in that other element of being very present. I mean, when was, those of you watching or listening, when was the last time that you felt truly present just in this moment right now?
Right.
Sometimes I'm going to be honest, I can go days.
Yeah. We feel sometimes like we're being either selfish or lazy, right? Either one. When we ask ourselves to take the time to be present, like we don't, one, deserve it, or two, that it's not benefiting a plan. But in actuality, it's important if we want to if we want to stay healthy, and we want to connect with each other better, and we want to connect with animals, we have to be able to be grounded and present and open. And it does a great service for our own health as well.
I feel like, the addendum to what I just said before is like, if I'm missing presentness in my own life, all I have to do is talk to an animal, and it's like, that's what I'm missing out on if I'm not present. And, I'm missing out on my life right now in service to something that already happened that I can't change, or something that hasn't happened yet that I might be able to change for the better if I am focused now, when now is happening. It's quite a revelation, quite an experience in and of itself. Now we're all adding, be present now to our bucket list, right? Because
that's right.
Their famous book, Be Here Now. Yeah, Be Here Now. It's brilliant. So we're almost at our time, but I definitely don't want to conclude without allowing people to hear about how they can connect with you and what you have to offer, and how they can experience your work firsthand. You could just share a little bit about that.
Well, you can find me online at karendendysmith.com. That's my website. Also on Instagram and on Facebook, Karen Dendy Smith Intuitive. And you can definitely find me at theanimalcommunicationcollective.com. All of those avenues will find me. And I would love to talk to anyone's animals that needs help, whether they just want to know if their baby is happy, if they have some issues with their food or relationships with people or other animals, if there's behavioral antics going on from our perspective. They may not see it that way, but there's always a reason. And also one of the big things that I do with people is help them when an animal is having health issues or in transition or after they've passed. So there's a variety of things that we can talk to our animals about and ask for help and guidance from them, whether they're still in their body or they have, as they say to me, left the building and become
right,
free again.
right.
So they really talk about how they exit and become free as opposed to dying. They actually, it's funny, they never use that word. They just say, thank you for freeing me when we have to assist. Or they'll say, wow, I didn't need that container anymore. So they talk about how they become free of the containers more than the way that we would see it. So we can do that too.
So all beautiful gifts to give yourself and your animal. You know, you think about I don't know how many billions, millions or billions of dollars we spend on pet presents every year. This is a phenomenal present to give to your animals, a chance to talk to you directly. And in fact, I can't think of a better one. So with that being said, so grateful to have had the chance to chat with you and share your work with our beautiful tribe here on Let's Talk to Animals. Karen, you're a blessing in this world. You're definitely an inspiration to me. And
you are to me too, Shannon.
Oh, thank you. Well, it just feels like, you know, when we gather together and we share ideas and we share what we're doing and you know our vision for helping reconnect people and the planet through the animals that we love, even more great ideas start to flow. It's like that upwards current of positive energy and good vibes that you know, just keeps on, hopefully keeps on rippling out for those of you who are listening or watching. And we so hope you've enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk to Animals. You can find Karen's episode and all of our archived episodes and upcoming episodes at animallovelanguages.com/podcast. And I think most importantly, when you head over there, you can find Pearl and all of his cuteness, right?
Oh, he's adorable.
And also on Instagram at Love and Feathers and Shells. And we would be delighted to hear from you. If you have questions for Karen, questions for yours truly, you can post them in the show notes or find us online. And if you have an animal communicator you'd love to hear from that I have not interviewed yet, let me know and I will do my best. And for topics that you'd like to hear about, because we're going to be expanding our content in 2022 to look at some other areas where animal communication intersects with other animal related topics. I'm super excited about that. And of course, you know how much this helps us because you hear it from your favorite podcasters every single day. Please leave us a review. Hopefully it's a great one. Please do stars or likes or shares or whatever it is, wherever you found us. We deeply appreciate it. And we look forward to welcoming you back to our next episode next week. Okay. Thank you again, Miss Karen. And bye for now.
Thank you, Shannon, and kisses to Pearl.
Oh, of course. Always gratefully received.